Welcome to the Influential Personal Brand Podcast. This is the place where we help mission-driven messengers just like you learn how to build and monetize your personal brand. My name is Rory Vaden, and I'm the co-founder of Brand Builders Group, a Hall of Fame speaker, and New York Times bestselling author. And this show is to help experts learn how to become more wealthy and well-known. I know you're going to love it. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Well, a huge part of my life has been built around trying to inspire people to be more disciplined, teaching them the psychology of discipline, how to get themselves to do things they don't want to do, and to help them achieve excellence in their own life. But a huge part of where I learned that from in my life was from my brother, my big brother, Randy, who you are about to meet. This is a very special episode. And my big brother was a huge part of raising me. If you know anything about my story, our story, but you know that we were raised by a single mom. My mom was often working and busy doing things, and so Randy spent a lot of time raising me. Even though today I try to avoid tools and camping and anything masculine pretty much at all costs, the manly skills that I have, and most of all the discipline and the perseverance and the resilience that I have, is largely because of this man. Randy is incredible in his own right. So he's done many things. So first of all, he is a military vet. So he served in 2 wars. He was in Kosovo, and he also was in Operation Southern Watch. So he was in the United States Navy, and he is a coach. So in addition to his professional life, he coaches competitive women's softball, and specifically young women, and their teams have been incredible. So he has coached the Firecracker softball team in Colorado over the past 12 years, and his teams have tallied over 700 wins, and they have had 2 Final Four finishes in the Colorado State High School Softball Championships for the high school teams that he has been associated with. Part of what was the catalyst for this interview was that my brother went through an amazing physical transformation recently. He was always very athletic and very in shape in his younger years. Then, as he had kids and built a family and was doing the corporate thing, he got busy doing other stuff. And we're going to hear about something that happened in the last couple of years where his dramatic transformation led him to becoming a professional bodybuilder, where he got 2 first-place medals in the master division. I was there to watch it, and I want to hear a little bit about the psyche for how he was able to transform his own life again. And who knows where else we're going to go. We're just having a chat with me and my brother. So please welcome to the show, Randy Gale. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks, Rory. Great introduction. Really appreciate it. Just one caveat: not a professional bodybuilder. I amateur bodybuilder, NPC amateurs. So yeah, I did win my show there and the overall for masters, which then qualified me for a national level show that I have yet to do. So, but yeah, big difference between the amateur NPC level and a professional bodybuilder who's been doing it for several years.
Sure. So thanks for clarifying that. And let's start there. Because that really was the catalyst where I was like, man, I don't know why we've never had you on the show, but this was an amazing transformation. So can you just give us some stats on how much did you weigh? What was going in your life? Give us the backstory of like what was going on with you physically, and then what was a decision you made? When did that happen? And then, at what point, how much time passed between the transformation and when you actually won in this amateur show?
Sure. So, kind of what had happened is over the years, I've been coaching for several years, and in work and doing all of that sort of thing. But essentially, I was kind of I wouldn't say health issues, but what I thought was maybe gout in my knees or my ankles and stuff when I eat certain foods. I was the heaviest I'd ever been. I was 280 pounds, so 5'8". So there's not a whole lot of room for that to go. I was, over 50% body fat, like I was just fat, obese. Not who I am or what I felt like I was. And I always remember there was there's been two times in my life where I've tried to lose weight. And the first time I remember, actually, it's a statement that you had told me was, your body will only allow you to get to a certain suck level, right? And then once you notify your suck level, you're like, oh, turn the gas on, it's time to go. Well, I had less sight of that, obviously, from the last time that I had started to sort of train for a bodybuilding competition. And, you know, I pour a ton of energy and time into these young ladies and trying to help their dreams come true of playing college softball and just becoming great character kids and contribute to society and whatnot. So we really trying to teach them how life is going to happen, life skills, what's going to come their way, how to be ready and how to be disciplined in that facet. And in doing that, I lost sight of who I was, and I didn't. The focus wasn't on me. Um, so when I started having some health issues, I was kind of like, this is gonna work. I'm not comfortable. I can't tie my shoes. I can't, without breathing heavy. So it really was. I saw, the thing that sort of shoots that catalyst is when you see a photo of yourself and you're like, who is that? Like,
Mm.
it's not me. I don't look like that. In your head, right? How many people you've talked to that it's like when they go down that health journey, it's like, I was at a point where I was like, I didn't even recognize myself. And that's so true. I mean, everybody I've ever talked to that has needed help or has been there, that's where they start. It seems like there's a trigger point but usually it's physical when they see themselves physically, but they're like, I can't do this no more. So that's kind of where it happened with me. I started training. The
So
biggest thing for
just to
me,
pause, just to
yeah.
double click on that for a second.
Mhm.
I mean, one of the ways to say that is just basically it's a reality check, right? It's like you
Mhm.
come face to face with an irreconcilable truth. And I think that's powerful in lots of ways, right? Like people who are struggling financially, they are often afraid to look at their statements and they're trying to avoid, and then it's like at some point you're forced to come face to face with this reality to go, damn, this is my real situation. um and so anyways, so you basically saw a picture of yourself and you were like, I got to do something.
Yeah, well, it goes back to how I'm this coach and everybody knows. How can I ask these young ladies to do something I can't even do myself? Like if I can't be disciplined in my eating habits and my healthcare, how can I possibly ask them to to be committed and disciplined into their sport and the things that it takes to get to that next level? So that was really the thing that kept me going. Once I had saw, the way I looked physically, I was like, that's what got me going. I did, shameless plug to Joe Rogan because I used to listen to his podcasts in the morning about when I was getting up and I was doing this cardio and it was like, I've already completed something in my first half an hour of my day than most people will do all week, right? And so it was understanding that to complete something that other folks wouldn't do, and it's just get through it. Just get through it. People say that it's motivating. Motivation is what keeps you. It's not. It's discipline. Motivating gets you started. Something motivates you to get started, but once that motivation's gone, you have to have discipline to carry it out.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm very goal oriented, right?
Yeah, so
So
tell me about the competition and tell us, like, okay,
mm,
so you were 280 pounds,
yeah.
you were over 50% body fat,
Mhm.
and then you decided to enter a competition or work towards one. And how much time passed?
So that was not on the radar yet when I got started, obviously, right? It was just about, getting healthy and trying to lose some weight. Biggest thing was can I change my diet to make it like a lifestyle where it wasn't so extreme I couldn't handle it and I'd be right back where I always am. So that's how it started. So the first year I picked the biggest, baddest dude in the gym and I went up to him. His name's Taylor, and I said, Taylor, you're working out with me. I'm like, I'm gonna work out with you. And he was like, hey, great, man, let's do it. So he trained me, and he was a bodybuilder. So he trained me as a friend. Like, I didn't pay him for it. It was like a friendship, you know. And I had lost, you know, in that first year, 50 pounds just training with him and eating
Wow.
right. So after a year, I had
Hold on.
dropped.
How long were you training? Like that's that's a big moment. So you lost 50 pounds
I
the
lost 50
first
pounds.
year.
So
How often were you
December,
working out?
well, December to like the following December, I had lost 50 pounds. Okay.
Wow.
And I worked out 5, 6 days a week,
Okay.
right?
How long?
Cardio 3, 4 days a week, 20 minutes to
Okay.
30 minutes. And it was just, you don't start there. So for your audience that's listening, it's like, you can have in your head, that's where I want to get, and you can attain it, but don't set yourself up for failure and say, hey, I'm going to go start here because in 2 weeks you burn out, right? So start slowly, do what you're capable of, and put goals in front of yourself, right?
Well, and I think the other thing that's really powerful is, you talked about suck level, which is a concept that, like I used to talk about that a lot. It's funny, I haven't talked about that in a long time of like, that's a good concept because it's like your suck level is basically when you push yourself at red line to reach a new level, then it pushes you forward. Then what you would consider sucks is actually much higher than you
Right.
normally operate at. And the other way to do that is to do what you did, was to like surround yourself with people who are operating at a higher level. It's like your baseline suck level goes up automatically because their expectations are so much higher, and just like you adopt their psyche, you adopt their habits, you adopt their self-talk, their way of eating. And that must have been going on with Taylor.
Yeah. Well, the other piece of that too, right? Well, so after that year, I had talked to Taylor. I said, I want to do a show, man. Like, I need another goal. I dropped the 50 pounds. I need another goal. I was 230 and I was like, okay, I'm pretty fit. I'm looking pretty good, you know, like, but I wasn't what I had still pictured in my head. And so when I talked to him, I said, give me a show. Let's pick a date. We picked October. And this was in December. And I started full go. It was on. And the way I made sure I did it is I told everybody I was doing it. I
Hmm.
had to make myself accountable to other people, not just to myself, because when you're only holding yourself accountable until you're disciplined enough to continue to do that by yourself, you need something to push you to keep you doing it. Because for me, I didn't want to fail everybody I told. I didn't want to fail my kids that I said I was doing this for. You know, I didn't want to fail and prove that I couldn't do something. So for me, I told everybody. I said I'm doing. I at first I was slow about it. Like January, February, I was kind of like, hey, something new's coming. I didn't like fully commit. And then by March, when I had dropped another 10 pounds, I'm like, hey, I'm doing a show in October, by the way. And then it really kicked up another level, and it was. And to be quite honest, the hardest part for me is bodybuilders are selfish. You have to be a very, very selfish individual at that time,
Hmm.
because right then it's all about you. It's all about what you're doing and how you're, competing, and how you're making yourself look, and how everything evolves around you, because you can't do it any other way. You would fail. And so, yes, I did surround myself with very like-minded individuals. Even at home, it was like, my wife Nicole and my son Carter was like, I'll eat what you're gonna eat. I'm not eating that. I gotta eat this, right? And so that's not always easy to have to manage three different types of meals or whatever. Um, when it's like, hey, we could just make one meal. I was like, no, can't. I got six to eat today, and whatever. But so yeah, so that's kind of how that happened. Um, and then
So by telling everybody, basically you kind of like, you don't have a choice after that. Like
right.
once it's out there, now your integrity's on the line, your
Mhm.
reputation's on the line. Like, and it's amazing how much these girls from your team, like
Mhm.
how much of an impact they played here without maybe they didn't even know. I don't know if
I would talk to them about it because I would tell them like, listen, because they would ask me, they'd see me eating 6 almonds or whatever on the sidelines, during tournaments because I'm coaching constantly. We're always playing whatnot, but I bring my lunches or whatever, and they would see and I'd say, listen, ladies, I'm not doing this to just do it. I'm doing it to win. Like I don't set out to do something to do it. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to go out to win. And that's exactly what I expect you to do. I don't expect you to step on the field to just be on the field. I expect we're going to win. So that was my whole motto the whole time, that second year. And in that second year, I dropped another. So I got down to 230, so dropped 50 at first, and then I dropped another 30 pounds to step on stage. So I
Wow.
stepped on stage. I weighed in at 199 after 2 years of you know, just going mad crazy. And, I think the day of the show, I was 197 that morning. So
Wow. So it's over
it
80. So over 80
was 80
pounds.
pounds. Yeah.
And what did your body fat drop to?
My body fat was down to like 5%.
Dang.
I remember that because think what meant so much to me is you came out, right? That was tremendous. For me, it was a huge impact. And meant you don't even know what that meant. But I remember waking up the next morning and telling Nicole, there's no way that's me. There's no way that is me in the mirror. I mean, I went the other way, so far the other way. And I was like, I cannot believe. I mean, I'm talking, but I can't believe that's me. It's like, when you're 47 years old and you got a six pack and you can see your striations on the side, serrations on the side, you're like, wait, it was crazy. It was really crazy. I was really hungry, but it was really cool.
Well, and if you're on Instagram, if you just look
Mm,
up the Randy Gale,
yeah.
Gale, the Randy Gale, you can see these pictures.
Yep.
Like I remember I posted a picture on my Instagram that showed the before and after, and people went
Mm,
nuts because it was like, that's freaking massive, 80 pounds, but dropping 45%
yeah.
in body fat in less than 2 years. That's
Yeah.
gnarly.
It's really the body composition, right? The weight you can drop off, but if you're not doing the right things, you're just going to lose weight. And yeah, you'll recomp yourself a little bit. But for me, it was like when you're that big, you have skin. Like you have extra skin. That was the hardest thing. And I think even you had heard some comments, in the stands, it was like, man, that dude lost a lot of weight because I had skin that you can't hide that. And I wasn't about to have surgery to have it removed because why would I? But it's like um that's the biggest thing. I think that was the most difficult or most challenging thing once you have lost that much weight is like, what do you do with all the skin that you were stuffing before? you know?
Well, I mean, it's a reminder. I mean, it's a reminder of the price you paid, right? It's like
Mm,
scars. This is a reminder that I'm not the person that I once was, that I'm not going back
mm,
like that. It's this,
yeah,
it's a relic. It's a relic of a different time in my life where I made different choices and I had
yeah.
different outcomes. Um,
Well, it's also
speaking,
kind of a scary concept too that folks don't really understand. Or I never really, I think, thought about was, there's a lot of um food diseases out there, right? And I even had a young lady on one of my teams that had a eating disorder. Um, by doing this, it gave me somewhat of an eating disorder as well, in the sense that I would freak out when I didn't eat something right and do an extra 15, 30 minutes of cardio. Um, and so getting where I'm at now, which I'm maintaining, I'm called off season, right? I'll start training really hard again here in July. Um, it was really hard mentally for me to be like, okay, it's okay to eat that because it's that time of the season, as opposed to, oh my God, freaking out, I'm gonna get really fat, you know. And so that's something that if somebody goes down this journey, they have to be ready for. They understand. They need to talk to people. There's a right way to get back to say normal conditions of eating as opposed to super strict and that bodybuilding diet.
yeah, I mean, when you're training for a show, it's like all consuming. I mean, it's a very,
Mhm.
very intense. The So I want to go back actually, like on the topic of not being the person that you once were.
Mhm.
Um, we just, I just had mom on the show like not too long ago, which was like prompted by just, oh, it's Mother's Day. And I should like have mom on to like tell her story about what it was like. And it was really powerful. I actually learned a lot hearing it's interesting hearing mom, now being in our 40s, hearing mom retell her perspective of the
Mhm.
story of like what happened about how our life worked. And because like my life is pretty dramatically different from where we started, like
So,
it's and that's part of why I wanted you to have you on the show, because your life is too. Your life is dramatically different from when we started, and then you also had this more recent transformation that was also very dramatic in a very short period of time. And I think there's people that are listening that maybe are not in the best situation, or maybe like not in the best circumstances,
mm,
and sometimes it feels far away, like that you could have a completely different life in 2 years or 5 years, like a radically different life. What do you remember about us growing up? Like what do you, cuz you were older, you're 5 years older than me.
yeah.
And
Four, 4.5. I'm not 5 years.
no, you're 5.5 years older
Well,
than
five and
me.
a half. Yeah, I'm getting
Yeah.
old. I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah. It's but I have at least 5.5% more body fat than you do, at least.
Not right
So
now, you don't.
uh,
I don't believe
it- um the a lot of those, the stories that mom was telling was, like, I don't remember a lot of the
it.
hard
Right.
I feel like a lot of the hardest times I don't remember because
Mhm,
I was still a baby, but you were old enough to remember some of those times.
mhm,
Clearly they were hard on mom. She was 23 years old, single mom, had 2 kids, had been divorced twice. She shared about that she'd had 2 abortions and no college education at the time, like living in a state away from her family. Like, it was hard. And that was her version of hard. My version was like a baby. I don't remember anything. Y'all were taking
right,
care of me. But I'm curious about some of what you remember, because you were like old enough to actually
right.
remember it, and you would like live it.
Yeah, I would say first off, like just to mom, like as we're older, right, and understanding how difficult it is to raise kids because we have our own kids, and how not having another person there to support you and to be able to have 2 kids that turned out like we've turned out, pretty freaking amazing. Pretty amazing. Doesn't
Preach it.
You don't hear about that. I mean, and to understand not only the difficulty and challenges you have to who's going to watch my kids when I go to work so we can eat. Like, thank God for, the Edsels and Danny and all the people that, mom brought up and that were there for us because they didn't have to be. And times were different then, right? I mean, community was a lot more community back in those days. And but fortunately for us, like I don't know, there's no way that we'd be where we are without the help that mom got, because I don't even know how she got where she got without them. But prior to them, it's like I would tell you, like, as I listen to the podcast, like there are things that mom stated that I think are different than what she said. But that again is perspective, right? She's older. I'm anywhere between 5 and 10. So I see things differently, or I remember things differently. Um, I can tell you that,
Well, and just to underscore what you said there,
yeah,
because it's like I I go like, you know, me and AJ are happily married, and we have a team. I mean, we got a team of people.
right,
Like, and I go, we struggle. Like, we struggle to raise kids and like keep up with the family and like
right.
the working and keeping the house clean and just like having sanity, just getting the kids to go to eat and like go to sleep at night. It's like it's so hard. And
What I would tell you is, I think now, and you've written me, and you've told me the affinity that you had for me and understanding. Like, I raised you from 5 to 10 because mom was working. So when you say you were with me, a lot of the time you were with me all the time. Like, I never got to go anywhere with just me. It was always me and my brother. Um,
this is, you're talking about from when I was age 5 to when I was
Yeah,
age
from when
10.
you were like 5 to 10, it was like you were
Right.
always with me. We were always doing stuff with my friends or whatnot. They were your friend. A lot of my friends growing up were your friends because you
Yeah.
were with us, right? Um, but I think you also kind of started to understand, like, I was being a parent, right? I didn't know how to be a parent to you at that age. So, even in talking with mom, and she's apologized because I didn't have the childhood you would have, right? That a normal, maybe a two-parent home, what people would call normal, I guess, upbringing of, a family. Kids are allowed to be kids, and you get to a certain age, and then, you start figuring out adulthood. Well, for me, it wasn't about that. It was take care of your brother, make sure you don't burn down the house or wherever you're living. um,
Yeah, we weren't living in houses. We weren't living in
Yeah, we
houses.
weren't living in houses, and it was a dungeon. I talked about the dungeon. It was a dungeon. It was a boiler room. The boiler was literally in the kitchen across the street, like the sink. Like, it was. I'm telling you, it couldn't have been more than 36 inches wide. We'd walk in the door, and it was just like two rooms with a boiler room and a kitchen sink. I don't even remember a stove in there. I don't remember if mom said it was a stove, but I don't remember ever cooking in there. But it is what it is. So, I mean, we always had a roof over our head somehow. I don't know how she did it.
She was
You know,
resourceful in that way. I mean, my mom was resourceful. She was good at making friends,
yeah,
and she was good at getting people to care about us, and they looked after us. I mean, we had
right.
so many people, so she was super resourceful in that way.
Well, I would tell you that that is what created who I am as far as, when I meet people, I love making friends. Everybody's a friend to me. But I'm also that person that, like, I try to take charge to take care of, if that makes sense. So people are like, yeah, you're that A type personality. Well, it's really because I'm always on, I'm always just looking out for everybody.
Like on duty. Like that's how I
Yes.
think of it. That's how I think of it as
Yeah.
like you're my big brother who is always on duty. Like you were
Right.
on duty training me, looking after me, watching over me, doing and even now you carry that, like I see that with the girls like on your softball team. Like it's like you're on duty.
Yeah. I don't know how to let somebody else take care of me and my situation stuff. All I know is how to take care of everything and handle it, if that makes sense. So, maybe that's kind of a fight or flight thing from when we were little. It's just like figure it out. Like, we always just figured it out. We never got in a bad situation that we didn't get out of because we would just I'd figure it out.
And what do you so so what do you remember most about growing up? I mean, outside of just in general taking care of me, like
I remember moving a lot. I remember, I know, like, I went to like three different first grades. I think mom even said that, like three different first grades. Um, which we were always in sort of the same sort of area, but it was like we didn't move states at least, but we did move around. I felt like we moved around a lot. Um, I remember, mom had always had me in sports though. Some way she managed to get me into sports. So, like, I did Boulder Valley soccer when I was younger. I don't think we paid because we didn't have any money, and she found a way to get me in there. And so she never let us have downtime to just get in trouble,
hmm,
right? She always like found a way to have us with somebody somewhere or doing some sport, at least for me. You were a little bit younger, so I guess somebody was watching you. I don't remember where you were when I was, playing soccer and whatnot, but um, so I was always kind of involved in sports growing up.
do you
Um,
remember like do you remember feeling poor or thinking we were poor or having other people like tell you we were poor? Like, do
I
you
remember this.
remember
What I
that?
do, what I do, what I do remember a lot of is when my dad would send child support money, mom would take us out to McDonald's.
I remember that.
And that was my dad had sent child support. We had a little extra money, and you and I would go get Happy Meals. And that was a big deal, right? Because it was like whatever that character or whatever was in the Happy
Ronald
Meal.
McDonald. Oh no,
Yeah,
the thing, the toy in the Happy Meal. Yeah.
toy and the Happy Meal. But we also used to go to the train at the McDonald's in Boulder. They used to have that one over by Crossroads Mall back in the day, and it was like you could go in the caboose and whatnot. And I don't know, but
Right.
we
I remember that.
used to do that. I remember not feeling poor because mom would take us to do stuff. Like we were always in the mountains, in the foothills. I know you didn't like it, but for me it was great. That's why I liked fishing and like one thing I do remember was I always wanted a dog though. Like we never had our own place. Like we were always living with somebody or living somewhere that we couldn't have a pet. So that is one thing that I wish I always could have. And then I finally did, in high school, mom allowed me to get uh, Roscoe.
And did
So
you? Yeah, that's right. We had Roscoe. Roscoe. One time we were playing football. One time we were playing football in the living room. I remember because you used to put the blankets
oh
over.
yeah.
We were playing goal line, and I used to carry the ball, and I'd have to like jump over you, and you'd be under the blankets with all the pillows, and you'd slam into me, and I'd have to try to like jump over the goal line, and you've rocked me back into the Christmas tree, like
Oh,
knocked me
feels,
back.
that feels like yesterday.
I hit the Christmas tree. Christmas tree completely tips over and crashes. And mom's favorite ornament, was it a
Bronco.
CU Buffs ornament or a
I think it was a Broncos ornament is what.
Broncos ornament,
Yeah.
crashed and shattered? And
And
all
what
ever,
happened? I
and
took
mom
care
goes,
of it.
"What happened?" Randy took care of it. Mom, Roscoe knocked over the Christmas tree. We blamed it on the dog.
Yep.
You did. You took
Maybe
care
that's
of
why I
it.
always wanted a dog was because I was always getting caught because I have nothing to blame it on. It's like plus mom knew everybody. So it's like I could never get away with anything
We
because
did
mom
tell her the truth of that story like 10 years later, maybe
I don't
something
even
like that.
remember. Maybe
I,
this is the first time she'll hear it. I don't
yeah,
know.
maybe. I think we told her the truth.
Yeah. And then
Anyways,
my
we're honest
other
people. We're honest people, but we did lie about the we did lie about the Christmas tree.
yeah. And then, I think our fondest memory for whatever reason, I don't understand why, is always, always around football. Like when we played Garfield, like, I don't know if you've told your audience what I sent you for a Christmas gift, but it was, the doll or stuffed animal that we used to play with for football because we didn't have money for football. Like something that simple, like, and we picked it up and here goes to get it.
There he
Yep.
is.
And you could
This
fit
is the
you
Garfield.
could
This
show them
this
how
is
you flip it around and you'd fit it. I
yep.
was always the quarterback so
This
that
was
Rory
this
would,
was this is the greatest Christmas present maybe I've ever gotten because
yep.
this Garfield doll is the doll we couldn't afford a football and somebody must have donated us
I think we got it at a church or
a
something.
church or something. But when his little plastic eyes, he's got these like hard plastic eyes. When you throw this bad boy, he perfectly spirals.
Yep.
And so we played with this for hours, for years.
Yeah.
And then this last Christmas, out of nowhere, Randy sends me this, no note or anything. There was nothing. It just showed up because you must have ordered it from Amazon or something.
Yeah, we
And,
looked up for it. Yeah.
and it showed up. And when I opened it, I knew it was from you. Like, because this was, so it sits on my desk. That's where I just went to grab it. Right behind me.
Right.
The,
But I mean, it's what you talk about in some of your, when you're speaking. Sometimes you talk about the Garfield, and that's it. I mean, for those that don't know, that's it. That's the thing that was football for us for years. Same thing. We just made do. We emptied 2 liter bottle, and we make paper baseballs, wrapped up tape balls, and we played baseball. I think most kids that
right.
didn't have things did that sort of thing, and we played baseball. We
The
had
2 liter, empty 2 liter bottle of soda was our bat. And then you
right.
just take a take paper and roll it up and tape it up. Yeah, we did that all the time. We had
We
a
used to
little,
do great things as kids. I mean, even things that I did with Carter now is, I made a basketball tournament bracket, right? Like how you and I used to play that all the time. Um, you know, I was the older one, so I got to pick out and do all the fun stuff
yeah, you got to shoot all the 3-pointers and I sat and rebounded
yeah, yeah,
hours at a time and
yeah.
never
But
got
you
to
were a
take a
great
shot.
rebounder when you got to high
That's true. I
school.
was a great rebounder in high school. So did you, but you never, so like the thing that dawned on me was like, I didn't really realize, I never had any inclination whatsoever that like we were only we were only like a few days away from living on the streets at times. And like, if we hadn't had friends, we wouldn't have had a meal. And like, it never dawned on me. It wasn't until I was much older looking back being like, wow, like,
Mhm.
and I started learning about money and business and stuff and being like, we come a long way. So, but when you were young, you never felt that either. You never felt like, oh, I'm
No,
not going to be
I never
somebody
felt like
because we
we
don't have
were.
money.
I never felt like. I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a good example or not, but some kids when you're going to school, you're like, well, that kid's the dirty kid, or he smells, or he doesn't take a shower because they can't afford the water, whatever. I never felt like that was us,
Okay.
right? I never felt like that was us. I do know that we learned the value of a dollar very early because when we wanted something, we had to earn it. I can recall we went camping in Colorado Springs one time. I had saved up all my allowance for months to buy a fishing rod and a reel. And I tell the story all the time that you and mom are over here on the side, and I'm standing on the dock. I got my fishing rod and my line in the water. I got a Pepsi in one hand and Cheetos in the other, and I hear skip, 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 whoop, plunk, and a fish, big old fish, took my pole and rod. And I stand up and I'm screaming and I'm crying to mom. And she's like, What's going on? I said, the fish just took my pole. And she says, well, go get it. I'm like, how am I supposed to go get it? I'm diving into this lake like I'm 8
Great
years old.
advice, mom. Jump in the lake.
Go get
Go
it.
get it.
Oh man, I was so heartbroken. I had saved up for the best reel, forever. It was like, I mean, those are the kind of things that we have stories like that from our whole childhood. Like I have stories that I remember that if I say now just crack me up. They're hilarious. But at the time they were like, destroyed me, type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think, we always had. I don't feel like we ever went hungry. I'm sure we were probably hungry, but I don't feel like we ever went hungry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever missed a meal, you and me. Like we always had something to eat, some soup or
Well, we
something.
were on
We're
WIC,
on WIC. Yeah, yeah. Which is, it's milk and butter and eggs and cheese, I think is what it is. It's like the essentials.
but that's only until I think mom said that only was while I was underage too. Once I was like over age 2,
Yeah.
it shuts
So
off.
I don't I guess I don't know all that. Like I don't know the details of when that kicked in or not. I do remember like we grew up on mac and cheese. We grew up on ramen noodles. We grew up on the little, Kool-Aid things that were 5 cents. They were little barrels that had juice in them. They're not even juice. I don't know what they were, but tasted like juice.
Chemicals,
Yeah, they were
chemicals with
definitely
food
chemicals,
coloring.
We grew up on tortillas, but we
Little
call them
Juan
like
burritos.
the white man burrito, right? We
Yeah.
put cheese in the tortilla and melt the cheese, and it was like, hey, that was our burrito.
Yeah.
Didn't have beans in it, just had cheese
Yeah.
and
We weren't
tortilla.
eating healthy because we were eating cheap,
Mm,
which is unfortunate because that's how a lot
yeah,
of families are. Like when you don't have money, it's like, it's
yeah,
all crappy food that's
yeah,
can
yeah.
afford.
Well, you'll find that too when you're trying to get healthy, right? Like they don't help you to get healthy. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's expensive. It's hard to
Yeah,
find. It takes forever to cook. Like, um, yeah, Ram. Well, I just, if there's somebody out there right now who's listening, who's just going through a tough time, like maybe they're looking at a picture of themselves in the mirror going, that can't be me. Or, maybe they're in a place where they don't have a lot of money, or they're, like one of your girls dealing with some
yeah,
type of a, an eating disorder. Like you've come so far and we've come, I mean, we've all come so far. What would you say to that person about what it takes to transform their life?
Um, for me, people sometimes say think big, but for me, it's think simple. Don't don't bite off the biggest piece of the apple first. Start off slow, but continue to do it every day, and eventually you'll be done. You start off slow on that bottom step of that mountain you didn't think you could get to, but you had to take a step to get it. Well, take one step, take two steps the next day, take three steps the next day. And before you know it, you're at the top and you don't even know how you got there. You don't remember what it was like when you started. And then I've heard this lately a couple times is get uncomfortable being uncomfortable. Like to make a change of anything, it isn't going to be nice. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not, nothing worth doing is easy. Like that was the biggest thing for me is like understanding like I'm going to get there eventually, but it isn't going to be easy and it isn't going to be in 30 days and it isn't going to be in 60 days. But I don't care. I have a date out here that I got to get to. And if I just keep doing this every day, I'll get to where I'm at. And if I have to reevaluate my goal when I get there, then I'll reevaluate. But I'm not going to reevaluate until I get there. And then before you know it, you're there. If it's a financial situation, I mean, I would say I'm not the greatest financial person to be giving financial advice, but but it's for me, it's like I start to think about more of like what's more important for my next payment, right? Like, can I live without this so that I can get this? Yeah, that makes more sense. So I start to weigh things like that, now as opposed to before when we grew up, like that was my big that I think that is one of the big issues that I have is we didn't have money. So now when I have money for something, I'm like, hey, get it. Like I don't want my kids to never have nothing that they don't want. Like that was hard for me. My daughter, she wanted a new bat, I go get her a new bat. She wanted a new glove, I go get her a new glove. Because I didn't want her to feel like I felt, which was I had good enough or I had shoes on. Who knows what brand they were, right? I had a shirt on.
I know they were
It
from
had one
Payless.
hole.
I know damn sure that was true.
Payless.
Uh-huh. They were from
Payless was our
Payless.
friend.
That was the only place that we ever went.
Yeah. When they started like making shoes that look like Reebok pumps, I remember that day. You know what I mean? So, um, you know, don't give up no matter what you do. Don't give up. Don't give up. I found that it wasn't that I could really necessarily go to any one individual that I knew. It was more like I found podcasts and I used social media to push me by watching motivational things. That's how I did it. Um, so I would say things that I would internalize and I would hear it and it would make me think about where we came from, or it would make me think about how far we've come, or it'd make me think about what I want to show to my brother or what I want to show to my mom or what I want to show to my kids. Like, what am I doing that shows them that what I say, I mean? And so for me, the bodybuilding thing, I feel I'm like in my life is probably the one thing that I said I was going to do that I did without a doubt. And you know this. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've wanted to do in my life and I'll start and then I stop because whatever. It's because of whatever. The three things I've never stopped. I've been married almost 24 years. I've got two kids. Both of them will be seniors next year, one in college, one in high school. And I coach and I'm lifting. Like those are the things now to me that I'm not going to stop. Right. And so, you know, if there's anything in life that's worth doing, it's for your family. Um, and you do whatever you can do. You do whatever you got to do for your family.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you, Rand. Like, uh, I- it's not lost on me that the life that I have is much the result of many people who made sacrifices along the way and who invested in me, many, many people, starting first and foremost with you and mom. Like, and that's continued to this day, like people constantly investing into me. And, but I never would have got there if it weren't for you. And I'm so grateful for the discipline, and it's like, I joke about not, I mean, I kind of joke. I mean, I joke about the fact that I don't like camping. I don't like manly stuff. I would rather get a manicure than I would go fishing 100 times. Um, but the truth is, like, I'm a pretty tough son of a bitch if I have to be. And it's because of you. It's because you beat the crap out of me and pushed me to the limits.
Yeah.
And you always taught me to get back up. You always taught me to keep going. You always taught me, like, don't listen to what anybody says to you, and don't ever internalize someone who's talking crap about you or about us. Like, I remember you always pushing me in sports and never letting people who are bigger than me and older than me, like your friends, they never got to make fun of me. That was, you would always, we were on duty.
You're right. I have a great story I have to tell because it goes to that point. I remember coming home one day and you were at Ryan Elementary, this in Lafayette. And I came home and I don't know, one of the neighbor girls came running up. Your brother's getting in a fight. Your brother's getting in a fight. And I'm like, what? So I tear off and I'm running across the street. And it was my friends and you come walking back across the street. I'm like, what happened? And they're like, Rory knocked him out. It was like some big kid that was messing with you in school wanted to meet you after school and you met him and you knocked him out. And I was like, what? It's like, I didn't get to do anything. I didn't get to help at all. You guys were walking across the street you know, like king of the mountain. It was funny. I just remember that story when you're saying that. It was I don't know if you remember doing that, but you came walking across the street with Craig and the guys, and you're
Yeah.
like, it's funny.
Yeah. And I don't look for fights. I try actively to
Right.
avoid fights, but like, and not just fights, rejection,
Yeah.
right? Heartbreak, setback, failure, people telling you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, their skin's the wrong color, like you're whatever. Like,
Yeah.
those are things that I've endured, and I know that you have, and I know that people listening have. And just so anyway, so thank you for that. Y'all, if you want to know more about my brother and check out his journey and see what he's up to with lifting, and you could go to Instagram and follow him at the Randy Gale, Gale, the Randy Gale. Brother, I love you. Thank you for this, and thank you for
Yeah.
everything.
Thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, if any of your viewers have questions on health journey that they're going through, hit me up. I'm always here to help. Like Rory says, I'm always on watch.
I love it. I love you, bro.
All right, love you.